Adam Wharton of Crystal Palace, man. I think he is a very, very good player. Obviously, a player that, I would love Liverpool to go out there and sign. I think he's a player that, with his qualities and things like that, he'd be able to come into the team and don't know if it's a case of, take the team up to another level. I don't look at him as that type of player. But he's definitely a player with the qualities that he's got. If Liverpool were looking to play in a different kind of way in terms of how they use the midfield and things like that, and you want maybe someone a bit more of a control tempo setter, control setter, or you want someone in the midfield who's brilliant at passing, can keep the ball, can find a pass, can get themselves out of these kind of situations, and just that type of midfielder, then I feel like he's probably the better one out there. Obviously, I don't know what the price and all this kind of stuff would eventually be for someone like an Adam Morton. Obviously, Crystal Palace, I don't think they're going to let him go cheaply, and I'm sure he's still got quite a bit, on his contract over there. But listen, man, Liverpool have apparently been, interested in him. Liverpool have a genuine interest in Wharton. It's believed that Wharton prefers a move to Liverpool over other clubs tracking him. Liverpool may make a move in January for Wharton, but next summer is more likely. A deal of 60 million plus add-ons is expected to be enough to secure his signing, but also Real Madrid are kind of tracking him as well. That's according to Fabrizio Romano. And I think, listen, there's reasons for it, man. And it's a funny one, right? Because obviously Liverpool we got loads of midfielders. Heck, Real Madrid have got loads of midfielders as well. So I think maybe he'd be looked at more like, I don't know if Ceballos is even still there. To be honest, I'm not really tracking Real Madrid, but yeah, he'd be one of those players that if you took a Ceballos out of the team, someone who not really that good, he's a way better version of that. I think you could get him in, and he'd probably play a lot more minutes, especially with players like Camavinga, who are, he's just come back from injury, but he gets himself injured quite a bit. Tchouameni obviously kind of slots in there at centre back at this current moment, in time, depending on what they do with their centre back situation. I think you can get an Adam Morton into the team, and I think he could be one of those underrated ones for Real Madrid. But obviously, that's Real Madrid with the kind of players they've got. At Liverpool, I just think that we are missing this kind of profile. We're missing this type of player. Someone, as I mentioned, it's just about, like, you look here, it says no Premier League midfielder has made more or had no Premier League midfielder had more progressive passes than Adam Wharton last season. 25.38, 89th percentile for dual win rate, 88th percentile for progressive passes completed, 80th percentile for possessions won, 75th percentile for key passes. Now, the dual win, that's great. Like, it's not a bad thing, but I don't really care about that. I think Liverpool have midfielders who can do that anyway. I think all of them, to be honest with you, would have decent dual win rate anyway. So I'm not really too fussed there. I don't know if it's higher than this or not, but just in a general sense, I'm not going to cry about that too much. But it's things like the progressive passes, completed, possession won, the key passes. Again, this isn't. I don't know if Liverpool midfielders have more than this or not. I can only go really based upon what I've seen. And watching, the Liverpool midfield, and listen, I've mentioned this a million times before. Liverpool's midfield currently, in terms of the midfielders they've got, so Alexis McAllister, Szoboszlai, Ryan Gravenberch, Curtis Jones, Endo, they all have qualities, I guess you could say, that fit in some way, shape, or form, right? Like, they've all got different kinds of qualities, but we're just missing this. And when I watch Liverpool play, it's been like this for years and years. Like, for example, someone like a Thiago, and I look at Adam Wharton. I won't say in that mold in terms of the style of play is, he could do the little flicks and trick. No, no, I don't look at him like that. But they do have quite similar attributes in terms of the way that they, progress the ball, the way that they can pick out a pass, and it's a pass just, blink of an eye, and it's just, in there. The way that they can operate in those kind of tight spaces, the way that they can operate around other players are little things that I look at and I'm like, yeah, it's kind of like what Thiago could do when he was obviously fit enough to actually play. And I think he's got the qualities. And again, I'm not saying he can be a Thiago level. I don't want anyone to crash out or anything like that. It's not really about that. But we're missing that type of midfielder. You guys have heard me speak about this for a long time about Liverpool's midfield. We're missing that. And I know everyone talks about, before they spoke a lot about, we need a destroyer, I don't think Liverpool need a destroyer as such. I would prefer, whether Arne Slot does, that's up to him. But I just think that what holds Liverpool back, especially in that midfield, is not really having that player who can just control the game. For me, Adam Wharton could be that kind, of player, but it would all depend on, what someone like Slot would want to do, in terms of how he wants his midfield to play. Because one thing I noticed about Liverpool quite a lot, especially in recent times, is that we seem to sign a lot of, like, we sign all these players, whoever they might be, right? Whether it's Florian Wirtz, Ekatike, whoever, we sign all these players, but I never feel like we signed them to do the job that we saw them do. Do you get what I mean? Like, it's always, I get it. Obviously, you come to a different team, so there's going to be an element of, yeah, you're not going to play the exact same way, but we're going to use a majority of what you've done before, kind of thing. And I feel like when I watch Liverpool, we never really do that. You see that with Florian Wirtz, Ekatike. We're not really like what we saw you do. I'm not seeing too much of that. It's almost like, okay, you've come here, we're just going to get you to do something completely different, and hopefully you're just going to be able to just run with it. If they're a good player, they'll be able to get to grips with it. If not, whatever. So there is something to be said about that. Square pegs round holes, as they say. But that's when I look at Adam Wharton and I'm like, I would love a player like this, but I'm worried that if he was to come to a team like Liverpool, good team, obviously better than Crystal Palace, and they're a team fighting for honors and things like that. So that side of things would obviously be good for him. But in terms of your actual playing style, I just don't really know, man. Like, I'm not really 100% sure. Do you know what I mean? That's why I'm very skeptical about the kind of midfielder that Liverpool probably would sign, or maybe would sign, in the future, because I'm like, I don't know if you're going to sign even if you sign the right player, are you going to get them doing that same kind of, or at least an 80% similar role? Yeah, ultimately you signed him because of what he was doing, right? I, I don't understand sometimes with managers, and it's not even just Liverpool, but just managers in general. And certain players, they might flop or whatever. So you look at like Jack Grealish, for example, at Manchester City. Obviously, trophies aside, when we look at his overall performances at Manchester City, you look at it and you think, yeah, but you're not doing what you were doing at Aston Villa, which is why I would have thought they would have signed you, because you're almost bringing that into this team. So then we can then, work around it again. I'm not saying it's going to be exact. It can't be 100% the same. It really can't, because you ain't got the same players. So there's going to be an element of, okay, we do this, we do things like this, and you're going to work within that. But we want to take what you've used over there and what you've done over there, and we want to bring it here, and we're going to try and implement that within our kind of style of play and our system. I look at Adam Wharton and I'm like, key passes 1.81. You can see here 91st percentile, right? Passes into a penalty area, 87th percentile, 1.25 per. This is per 90 minutes. This is what I kind of want to see. I just don't really see that from the midfield. I'm not seeing any, Ryan Gravenberch, as good as he is, he's a player who he gets himself away from these kind of situations, and then he kind of does nothing afterwards. It's like he plays it to like the closest player that you can see. And I'm like, is that kind of it again? Is that him? Is that the manager, saying to him, look, when you've made that kind of turn, and the space kind of opens up, make sure you release the ball quickly, because then we want to try and keep everything kind of moving. Maybe it's that. So maybe I can't blame him, but when you've seen it for so long, I don't really know at this kind of point. Adam Wharton is a player that once he gets his head up and he can see a pass, he'll make that pass. Once he's in these kind of situations, he'll be able to do that. And I just think that, as much as, again, I want to sign him, I'm also, again, like I say, a little bit skeptical, because I'm like, ooh, okay, if we do sign him, then do you know what I mean? Is it going to work out in the same kind of way? When you look here, this is Ryan Gravenberch, Belieber, and Adam Wharton. And I do think actually all three are different types of midfielders, which is actually really good, to be able to see. Passing accuracy here, 78.6. This is done by Squawka, by the way. This isn't actually my own one. So yeah, 78.65 for Adam Wharton. Obviously, Brighton and Liverpool, obviously more possession in their teams. Teams that are quite dominant, really, in terms of the way that they play. So yeah, Ryan Gravenberch, I expect that kind of, in terms of the passing accuracy and stuff like that, just because the reality is that I'm seeing Ryan Gravenberch make a lot of passes back anyway to like Van Dijk or Konate, very safe passes. And that's when again, it's weird. It's not a bad thing that your passing accuracy is good, but then when you add context, it's like, okay, cool. Because then when you look here, you can see the forward passes made. Ryan Gravenberch, for all that possession that he's had over Adam Wharton, he's only making, 14.4, per 90 minutes, whereas Adam Wharton's making with less passing accuracy. He's making 17.5 per game. Tackles made, I thought Believer would obviously get there. Aerial duels makes sense. Duels one makes sense. Ground duels, I probably would have thought that Believer maybe. But then again, Ryan Gravenberch does get himself into quite a lot of challenges. Clearances, again, that makes sense because Crystal Palace. Ball recoveries, could again, maybe I would have maybe have potentially have had Believer there. So yeah, when I look at these statistics, yeah, you could see who plays for who. One plays for the champions, one plays for a team who's really, really good on the ball in possession and stuff like that, and the other one plays for a team who's pretty decent on the ball, but maybe doesn't have as much of it as the other two. But he himself can provide, certain kind of qualities. So yeah, as I mentioned before, man, it's just one of those, man. We really do have to kind of wait and see when it does come to, especially a player like him. And like I said, as much as I want to see him here, I'm just more concerned with, is he going to be the one? I mean, go ahead and watch, my video that I did on Adam Wharton, speaking about his kind of style of play, what he's really good at and stuff like that. But I mean, I could sit here and wax lyrical, about it, until I'm blue in the face. But I think most of us who watch the Premier League, you kind of already, when you've got a player that, he can win possession high if needs be, and he's always looking for that forward pass. He's always looking to release the ball. And I think having that kind of quick thinking about you, again, I think that would be good for, for Liverpool. He is someone who can obviously control the game, as well, in terms of he's just really, really neat on the ball. But I think coming to Liverpool, I almost feel like that would probably be something that it would just be natural anyway, just because Liverpool will have the lion's share of possession in 95 probably percent of games outside of against City, City, Arsenal, Brighton, maybe, in terms of three teams, I think, okay, might potentially have more possession in those games. But yeah, in the other games, I feel like Liverpool have that lion's share. So he'll be able to control the game in that kind of way. But he's also someone who can put his head up and find the pass. And I just think, I look at all the midfielders, and again, not even to say that they couldn't do it, but they're not doing it and they haven't done it. So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, if they're not doing it, haven't done it, is it a case that they can do it? I don't really know at this at this current stage. So yeah, with Adam Wharton, yeah, it's listen, I think he's a fantastic player, good ball progression, someone who can, really get himself on the ball, he's comfortable in possession, he's comfortable even out of possession, he's tactically very aware, he's got really high IQ, all of that kind of good stuff. I would like to have him. I would love to keep, or have someone like that in my team. But would we get him? Don't know. Maybe we could get him, to be honest with you. But even if we did get him, are we going to utilize him properly? Are we going to play to his strengths? Or is it going to be a case of he's going to be a part of a team that moves the ball extremely slow, and it's just all of that stuff. I mean, I've spoken about this before, in regards to Liverpool, if you listen to, my kind of reaction to the Burnley game. But it's been like this for like since the beginning of 2025, in terms of the way that Liverpool move the ball. Maybe if you have someone in there who is naturally always looking to move the ball a little bit quicker, maybe that might, potentially change things. I don't know. I'm really just kind of guessing, at this kind of point. But yeah, head on over to my video in terms of, looking at his style of play in a bit more in depth. I don't want to, bore you with all of that stuff. You can watch the video, yourself in regards to that, and you can kind of make your own opinion as to whether you believe Adam Wharton is a player that could come into this Liverpool side and, maybe just up the level a little bit. I just think it's a little bit stale at the moment when it comes to that Liverpool midfield in terms of the job roles that are being given to these players. Whether that will change in the future, I don't know. Ultimately, Liverpool won the league with that midfield. So, if they do win the league again and go back to back, then you start looking at it thinking, well, do we need another midfielder? Because clearly we're winning without having, one. But you can always improve, you can always level up. And I think that's something that Liverpool are going to need to do, in the future. And to be fair, kind of soonish, if I'm being 100% honest with you. But let me know your thoughts, man, in the comment section. Do you think Liverpool should be going out to sign someone like Adam Wharton, or would you just think now we've kind of got the midfielders, we don't really need to upgrade that area? And I'll catch you guys soon, man. Peace.